3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? It is another episode of CRIMINALCAST. This is episode 15. Can you believe we made 15? Can you believe Eric Breen has made 15 episodes? He is joining me here tonight along with Skip and Tosh. Glad to see you guys. Eric, how was your Christmas?
Pretty uneventful.
Clamming up is right. Skip, how are you, my friend?
You don't say pretty uneventful, then go into a big long elaboration. Then it wouldn't have been uneventful if there was really more to it than that.
There we go. There's that.
Because now I'm just padding the exposition.
There we go. Great to see you, Eric. This is the Breen I love. Skip, how was your Christmas?
Christmas was cool. Birthday was a little weird, but overall there was a lot of generosity. And then the day after Christmas, there was even more generosity. I was gifted 2 tickets to Kings game, but by my buddy Ford, and a buddy of his that he didn't know was coming. My buddy Justin Greenwood tagged along too, and then we went to Morton's after, which is like a highfalutin. Yeah, there you go. You know about the Mortons. Yeah, we went there after, and it was just that really redeemed the holidays for me. So it turned out pretty good in the end.
Awesome.
Did they win?
Breen, I thought we were friends. You go and ask me sensitive questions like that.
Oh, well, but so at least Morton's was good though, right?
Morton's was excellent, Breen. It was fantastic.
Glad to hear it.
Now we're friends again, just like that.
Nothing better to mourn your sorrows than some Mortons.
Ash, I thought we were friends. What's happening right now?
So people that don't like Skip are giving him more tickets.
It's kind of how it works. It's not too bad to be Skip these days, I'll tell you that.
As a Chargers fan, I feel like we're kindred spirits. I know how it is. So I feel like
we're bonding.
I feel like I can joke about these things to ease the pain and suffering.
Indeed, my friend.
But I'm glad you had a good. I saw the pics of the Kings game. I didn't know you get Morton's. That was a pretty grand night.
Yeah.
Eric, how's the back?
Hurting along nicely.
Oh well. I wish I had some drugs to offer you, but I don't. Hopefully, you can tough through it. I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling skipper. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Hey, this is a podcast style YouTube thingamabob. We broadcast live on the interwebs. It's called CRIMINALCAST because here we celebrate all the independent works of Ed Brubaker, the chief among of which is called Criminal. If you have not read Criminal by Ed Brubaker, I don't know why you're here, but I'm glad you are. don't go away. We are big fans. This is a sort of a fan cast. We're not here to really criticize or dunk on anything, or this is 3 guys who just love Ed Brubaker's crime stuff, and he doesn't really do anything that's not crime that I'm aware of in the independent field, but he's quickly becoming one of my favorite comic writers of all time, and maybe when all's said and done, he might even surpass a certain other guy on the mountain. You were going to say something, Eric?
I say, would you say that in this particular CRIMINALCAST might be 2 days early?
I see. Yes. So today, on the last Wednesday of every month, is when we do our CRIMINALCAST. We're covering the book Friday on a Wednesday. That's a good dad joke there, Eric. If you have not read Friday, I'm sorry, we're going to spoil it. But if you have read it, awesome. Glad to have you here. Glad you're listening. If you're listening to it not live, that's awesome too. But you can't interact with us. So if you are here live, please let us hear you in the chat. We may not be verbalizing the chat. It's not a Q&A type of thing, but it does inform our discussion and talking, and we love to see fellow fans. This is what this is about. It really is just talking about comics that we love. Now, we chose to do Friday because it's kind of a Christmas. Would you call this a Christmas? I thought this was going to be a Christmas story.
I thought Rebecca Black was going to do the theme intro for us.
I mean, like it goes. I don't want to say it goes out of its way, but it does make it pretty apparent that this is, related to Christmas. I'll literally on the cover, the title is Friday, Book 1, the first day of Christmas.
Yes. So it does take place during. If you know what, if Die Hard is a Christmas story, then this is definitely a Christmas story. That's what I'm going to say.
Damn, Skippy.
There you go.
So, but this is a Christmas story the way that only Ed Brubaker seems you could tell. And I got to tell you, I was shocked. Well, not shocked. That's not the right way. I was surprised when I read this. Was not the book I thought it was going to be. What about you guys when you read it? What were your first kind of thoughts about it?
I had already read a little bit of it before we dove in. So I was already aware that of what it was gonna be like.
Go back to the first time you read it, whenever years ago or whenever you first. What was like your first when you first experienced this? What were your initial impression or thoughts, or did you have any? I mean, or did you just like, it was exactly what I expected?
I hadn't completed the story until this week. Just when it first got published and it was like actually out in stores, I went and I grabbed it and I read through some of the pages, and so I already knew that it was like a kind of a little bit more advanced than a YA novel, and I was impressed. I really liked the colors. I appreciated the lines, and to see Brubaker still be Brubaker, but with his foot off of the gas just a little bit, to match the speed of and the complexity of what a story like this should be, for its target audience. I felt like it was right in line, and I was excited to read through it. But I am a person who likes all sorts of different stories. I like short stories. I like YA stories. I like kids stories, and tales. I'm just a lover of stories. So, when you have a master storyteller, I was along for the ride. I was very, very excited.
What about you, Eric? When you were reading this book, did it surprise you in any way? Were there any things that stood out to you? Like, did you have any? What were your thoughts as you were experiencing this the first time?
Honestly, I read it for the first time yesterday, and I kind of came out of it going, this one didn't do it for me.
Uh-oh.
I couldn't put my finger on it. So, realizing that we were doing this, I read it again today. And this time, I got it.
Oh, okay, cool.
I liked it infinitely more the second time I read it.
Well, that's
because I don't mind slice of life stories, even with a little twist, like maybe this but it there's something about this didn't take the first time, and I don't know what changed between reading 1 and 2. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention the first time, and the second time it just clicked for me. But and I'll go into more detail as we discuss the story. But when I read it the first time, I said, I don't really care to go any farther. Now I can't wait to see what happens next.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I kind of understand where you're coming from, because when I started reading this, it didn't take me complete out of left field. I mean, obviously, I look at the cover. I researched a little bit about what this was. I thought this was going to be a YA book, so I was pleasantly surprised to find that it's not. Ed Brubaker coins the term, or I don't know if he coins it, but he uses the term post-YA. So this is definitely, it's for a not old adult, I guess. It's,
you tell me.
He puts it in the back of the book. He has like a little afterwards, and he talks about the book, and he says, I guess one of his friends, after reading the book or something, said, post YA is just A. to which Brubaker kind of jokes, but he's like, you know what I mean? Like, it has like the look and the feel of a YA, but it's definitely not. This is not Harry Potter we're reading. You know, it's like it feels like a criminal story. I mean, this feels very much the way the pacing was, the narratives. It felt very much like the way Reckless, to be more specific, just with different settings and characters. And I have a feeling the next Reckless book will feel similar to this too, because he's going to do the girl character. But anyways, without getting off the side of track, I was pleasantly surprised in that aspect, and I was also a bit surprised, maybe just because I'm still kind of an Ed Brubaker novice, but the whole like supernatural stuff being in there. I thought this was going to be a more of a straight shooter. So I was like, whoa, this is coming out at like, whoa, what's going on here? But Skip, you were just programmed into all that. You just nothing surprised you. Is that what I understand?
I don't want to say nothing surprised me, but I didn't see too much in this book that I mean, I haven't really seen much of anything in this book that I haven't seen in other Brubaker. The biggest thing is just that I was happy to see that he, fit his plot and how he executed it within the bounds of what is kind of understood to be most effective for the target audience. So that was the biggest thing that I was curious about, and the biggest thing that I experienced within the book. But I mean, honestly, like after I got through some of the pages and kind of knew more of how he was approaching this book, I was really surprised that you had suggested this one for us to read. I was like, either Ash knows what this book is like and he wants to mix things up, or Ash just wants to stick with a Christmas theme, or Ash has no idea what this book is like, and he's going to find out that it's the least like all of the other books that we've read from Brubaker and Phillips. I mean, this one only being by Brubaker, but still very much a Brubaker tailored story. So,
well, spoiler, all of that was true. You nailed all of it. It was a bit of all of that.
Nice.
Yeah, I honestly, it was a bit of all of that, but specifically for the choice for this month, I was like, well, we're going to get to Friday anyway. Christmas seems like the best time. And, shake it up. Like, we're doing all the Ed Brubaker stuff, have a little bit of a diversion. I was very curious. I was like, oh, I want to check what this is out. You guys were like, yeah, it's cool. I want to do it too. So, it wasn't like I dictated anything for those of you listening. Everyone was a democratic decision. But I am.
Yes, he did. Yes, he is. We're blinking twice.
Damn you, Eric. Apparently I have not beat you enough. We'll tell you. Anyways, so this book. God damn it. This book, it also surprised me in really good ways. When I saw this cover, I was prepared to go into the book, going, okay, we're not getting the normal Sean Phillips art, it's fine. It's probably, I was like, oh, it's published online. It's not actually a quote unquote real comic. I kind of, I was like, okay, set your expectations lower. It's still going to be Brubaker writing. But I don't want to say I was astonished, but very much like surprised. Like I love the art in this book. As I was reading it more and more, I was like, this artist, I mean, the style feels unorthodox for comics. It feels a little bit more like what you'd expect to see in children's books and things. And that's not a slight. I mean, some of the best artists in the business right now are doing art in children's books because it also pays really well. But this artist, whose name is slipping me at the moment,
Marcos
Martin is fantastic. I absolutely loved this art.
Same.
What about you, Eric?
I've seen his art before. He did some issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and I do not like him on superhero comics, but I've got to admit it fit this story pretty darn well. So I was no complaints with the art on this.
Yeah, certainly I wouldn't want to see Spider-Man illustrated in this fashion, but it really worked here. Also, Skip, you're the biggest connoisseur of coloring. I found myself much more of a novice in coloring aspects, really enjoying like this. I thought it stood out to me, which oftentimes coloring doesn't. Coloring is like either it gets the job done or it's bad. Rarely do I go, "Ooh, that's great coloring." And this was a book for me that I was like, "This is some good coloring." Am I off there? What are your thoughts?
I'm right there with you. That was one of the first things that I recognized. I have to highlight a buddy of ours, friend of the channel, friend of the show, RDV. I remember when we were first putting it out, when you had first posted, Brubaker's, book that's getting ready to be printed. He had made a comment about the art. And RDV reads so many books, and I think I have a sense of what he likes, but he was calling out the art and saying that he hopes the interiors aren't like the art on the exterior, on the cover. And I was like, what's wrong with the art on the cover? So that was the first thing that I looked at when I cracked the book open, was just the art. And the first thing I noticed was the colors. And then I also noticed, the lines, and it played it pretty close to kind of the more typical tropes of YA to post YA lines. How usually they'll keep the proportions of the body kind of slender, but pretty accurate, and then they like to widen the faces, kind of like what's the villain from Dick Tracy, Breen, the guy with the flat head? Is it Flat Top?
Oh God, I don't remember. I can't pull his name out.
No worries, but kind of like that guy, where he has like the flattened top of his head and kind of like a wider face. But I was like, that's pretty on par. And if you look at the trees and all the other buildings and everything, I was like, all of that is really good. I've seen much worse art in books. So the colors popped out, the line art popped out, and I was very satisfied. And as I was reading through it the whole time, I was like, I don't know why. Like, I mean, RDV doesn't have to like everything that gets put to print, but I was like, I just don't understand what his critique was, maybe outside of it not being, like a Marvel kind of house style. I don't know. Or a DC kind of house style. But he reads indie books too, so I couldn't put my finger on it.
Well, let's get
a cartoony feel.
We'll get into the book itself here, and people can see for themselves, for those of them people in the audience that haven't read it and just choose to be spoiled. I will not shame anyone, I promise. But I want to put the address. I put that in the chat. www.panelsyndicate. I don't know why I said the W's. panelsyndicate.com. This is the artist's whose name I already forgot again. What was it, Eric?
Margot Martindale.
No, the other one.
Oh, Marcos Martin.
Marcos Martin runs the site as I seem to understand it, and he pairs up with other writers. And Ed Brubaker is not the only big name. He's got a couple of books he's done with Brian K. Vaughan as well. And all these books are released digitally through the site, so it goes straight to the creators. You're not paying a middleman, which is cool if you want to support these. But also, something that I particularly really appreciate is all the books there are name your price. So you pay what you want. If you're a huge fan and you have disposable income, throw down some money. If you're shy and like, money's tight because of this or that, but I'd really like to check it, pay what works for you. And I love that. I love that you can try out the stuff and get these books. I highly recommend them. All the books come out digitally, but obviously, as we saw, the trade is available at your local shops for the covers the first 3 issues, what we're covering tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the book. And I guess Skip, our master at synopsis. That sounds pretty cheesy. Sorry. The man with the recap will kind of, go ahead and take it away. and I guess we'll just. What do you want to do? Chapter by chapter, or?
Yeah, we can do chapter by chapter. There's only 3.
All right, sounds muy bueno. Friday.
Friday, the first day of Christmas. Chapter 1 is titled "The Girl in the Tree." The main parts that we really get introduced to, Friday Fitzhugh, who is our main character. We also get introduced to Lancelot Jones, who is her buddy and the lead young detective in the town. And even at the time that we get introduced to him, he is walking through the woods with the sheriff of the town, fresh on a case. And Friday jumps right back in. We get a little bit of their history and where they're from, and also a little bit of the history of the woods that they're walking through, which is known to have, tales of, paranormal activity and all sorts of other things. We find out that Friday had just recently gone off to college, and since Lancelot Jones is younger than her, they haven't been in touch as much, and her getting right back into town instead of having the typical, getting reacquainted, let's go out to dinner, let's catch up, they just jump right back on a case. They come across some tracks in the woods and come to find out that it is one of the kids from the town that they went to school with that they know, Weasel Wadsworth. And it seems like he's possessed as they find him carving something into a tree. So finally, after they throw some rock hardened snowballs at him and finally jump on him as he's running away, they knock him out, they get him into the car, and he just continues to spout this babble while he's in the back seat with Friday, particularly talking about, this white lady that he's seen. Finally, they get him over to the hospital. They get him in there, but Lancelot wants to take the sheriff back to the forest and get some more samples, some more data and pictures and such of what's out there. And while Friday is talking about how she just kind of wants to catch back up with her friend, she sees that that's not what's on his mind and realizes that's true to the character. So she calls her mother to come and pick her up as the sheriff wasn't able to give her right back home because they're going right back to the scene.
All right, so that is the end of chapter 1. That was a nice. I got lost a little bit. I have to admit, I'm embarrassed. Parts of the book, I was like, "Wait, where's Skip at?" I was like, skipping back and forth.
Sorry,
Breen, give us the expert opinion on this, since you read it twice.
Well, the first chapter, to me, I liked. Was my least favorite of the 3. It was decent enough. It was good setup for what was going to happen, and there was the hint that she dropped about what had happened the last time they saw each other, and it kind of made me go, okay, what did happen? Which we're going to find out later. And we got kind of an insight to her personality with the snowball. We're going to find out its origin kind of in the next chapter. But I said it was it did its job setting up the rest of the story.
So what about so this is the part that kind of got me a little bit, not in a negative way, but it just sort of like spun me around. Is when I was reading the book and they're going through the trees and the forest and stuff, and I kind of went into this book expecting it to be a Scooby-Doo for older people, read, not a kid's cartoon, but similar type thing, Goosebumps. I'm trying to think of all the different similar type of things. Oh, what's the book with the girl detective that's
Nancy Drew?
Nancy Drew, yeah. I was expecting a lot of that sort of stuff. So when it's like, oh, hey, they're working for the sheriff, they're going and investigating out in the woods, I was like, okay, this is right. And when all of a sudden it started talking about like ancient lore and stories and leaving babies in the woods to die. And I was like, wait, where's this book going? I was like, and then I turn the page and I get to the whole like sacrifice, and you see, and I was like, am I reading an H.P. Lovecraft story? What is going on here? Again, not taken away. It wasn't like, because I love Cthulhu-esque stuff. I just wasn't expecting it. And then I was like, oh, okay, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. What about you, Eric? Did any of that surprise you, or, you know, whatever?
No, 'cause I figured that they were setting up that this town had some kind of lore that, you know, may or may not be real, or may be able to be explained. And it's sort of, to me, it was kind of like, okay, well, this is the hook that makes you wonder, okay, what is it that separates this town from other small towns? And I've forgotten the name of the town.
Kings Hill.
Thank you.
I remember it because, I remember it because Ed Brubaker said he totally, honestly, even though it's just inspired by books like Stephen King and Joe Hill, he did not name the town after Stephen King and Joe Hill. And I was like, all right. Continue.
At least they don't live in Steve Joe.
Right.
That would be silly. So, you know, I said again, this was a chapter I kind of, you know, got through to get to what I thought was more interesting. And honestly, the story in general, I was more interested in the relationships between the people
mm-hmm.
than the lore, whether, you know, whatever this turns into. I found myself really getting interested in, you know, in the people, everybody from the sheriff to the father, and, you know, obviously the two kids, and, you know, the moms and whatnot. And so I said, you know, that's, you know, I said, so, you know, I'm curious to find out what, you know, like I said, if as we go forward, if this stuff is real, or if it's just one heck of a fish story that's just grown over the years. And I guess we'll find out.
Well said. I really adore the art. And I'm stuck here on a page. Well, not stuck. I stopped here on a page that kind of gives an example of what I really like the art. It's not, I don't want to say, it's not, the rendering is not what you'd normally expect in comics, but yet it just seems to fit this story so well, especially now that I'm approaching it from a Cthulhu-esque type of horror story. Not necessarily, I mean, I don't think Cthulhu is actually in the story, but it's that vein, that Lovecraftian, I guess would be a better way to say it, Lovecraftian style story. I love the design of this car. You know, the way the town, there's so much detail back in there, and it just I don't know, was it someone in the chat called it deceptively simple. I'm trying to find where I saw that, but I agree. Maranya, okay, and I agree. It is. You look at it, if you just look at the figure drawing, it is simplistic, but the artist is so, there's so much small detail put in, and I love the way that this is framed. The layouts here, they speak so much to the emotion of the story. About, you know, when you see Friday just kind of sitting here on the sidewalk with her suitcase, and her best friend is about to drive away, and he won't make eye contact with her, and you can just see it, like the way it's shot. She's looking through the side. You see her perspective, like this is what she's looking at. And the sheriff just kind of, oh, here you go, here's a suitcase, you know, it's like taking off of the trunk, and then to the driving away, and it has an establishing shot. It's just, I don't know, it's just so smart the way that this book is illustrated. I was not expecting this at all when I got into it. What about you? It was Skip. Was anything, what stood out, I guess, in this first book for you?
The first chapter, I was trying to get a sense of the pace and how the creative team was going to sync up, but it was a proper introduction. Especially finishing the whole book, it was a very proper introduction to not only the main two characters but also their relationship, what it's like, what they're interested in, what when they are together, their highest the highest version of their relationship, of them as a duo. And you get to see, I was really impressed about how they showed off Lancelot and his intelligence, and what makes him an effective detective, and them introducing, you get a little hint that Friday was kind of the muscle. Of course, when they approached Weasel Wadsworth, she was the one to take action. So it was Lance and his detective work that got them so close, to their first suspect or potential perpetrator, and then it was Friday, to take action. So, and then we see that, and what was the beginning, the genesis of all that in chapter 2. So yeah, especially with hindsight, it was very much that. But if I take hindsight out of the equation, just the line art, especially reading through the whole first chapter, just really, really held up for me. I appreciate the fact that this to me is like a evolution of like the Sunday funnies and like modern day art kind of coming together. So the sequential storytelling that the Sunday funnies needed and the comic strips needed in order to tell a story, mixed with that cartoonist feel, but being a little more modernized with panel layouts and a little more detail, kind of coming together. And of course recognizing that this is a comic, but at the same time, Brubaker taking that graphic novel form, and fitting it into that, and then it being mixed with the YA, kind of reminds me. I remember when we went through the Skybound X and we got to that Clementine story.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like the art style and kind of the approach reminded me of that. I was like, okay, this is very much like today's, YA, post YA aesthetic and storytelling approach. All of it worked for me.
Yeah, me too. I was shocked. About halfway through the book, I remember like just talking to myself and just being, wow, this art's really growing on me. At first, I was like, the look of Friday is kind of weird, and she looks really. But like I said, about halfway through the book, I was like, I like this. It feels fitting of the book. Again, I don't want to see this in Spider-Man or it's got to be appropriate. But for this, it totally worked for me. Eric, do you have any final thoughts before we get on to chapter 2?
No, actually, I'm good.
All right, let's do it. This is Friday, chapter 2. First, I guess we'll just talk about the cover. This might be my favorite of the covers. I don't know. I really liked, especially now that I've read it. This kind of reminds me of what we had talked about on our other show, the indie comic show, with Layla Starr, and how the covers kind of speak to.
Wait a minute, excuse me, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After all this time, you just took unnamed out of the title and made it the indie comic show.
I was just being brief.
Oh, so you still haven't named it?
No.
Jeez. Go ahead. I got nothing.
So, we had talked about that when we talked about another indie comic. It's not really, but how the covers kind of spoke the story through the covers.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I saw that a little bit here. I love the cover. I love the coloring on this cover too. That's great use of contrast. I really appreciate when colorists know how to properly use contrast. What about you guys? You like this cover? Hate the cover?
This is actually only my second time seeing it. In the graphic novel, it does not have those covers when you go to the next chapter.
Yeah. Okay, good point.
Because it very much does treat it like a graphic novel, so it's just like next chapter. The only time I've seen them because I did go to the website just to check it out, so I did see the covers there, and I didn't really pay attention to them as much this time. So yeah, I have a in the moment appreciation for the foreshadowing of the cover. It's very very well done.
And Eric, we know you hate art, so we'll just move on.
Well, no, I also have the book that treats it as a graphic novel, and so I don't know how to use the interwebs, so I had no way to look it up.
All right. Well, fair enough. I just thought it deserved a little bit of commenting. I'll let Skip get back to the interesting parts.
Indeed. And yeah, shout out to Maranya. The cover evokes more of a fall mood. And yes, because we go back in time a little bit, so that's very appropriate. Chapter 2 is titled The Night Before She Left. And we continue from Friday being picked up by her mother, going into their house. We meet her aunt who lives there with her. And then Friday is kind of pooped from the whole case, and then not really getting to connect the way anticipated. She nods off, and then we get a little bit of their history. Friday, out and about back when they were younger. I want to say she was
about 12.
About 12, yeah, so 6th grade, and she was just on the lake playing a little, going through some hockey drills by herself. Some commotion off in the back, and Weasel Wadsworth's older brother, Wally Wadsworth, him and two of his friends are actually bullying Lance. After a while, she can't, help but to intervene, so skates in their direction, little slap shot straight to Wally's face, breaks his nose, tells the other boys to scram unless they want another knuckle puck. Shout out to the Mighty Ducks. And they all hit the hay. Immediately, Lance, turns around, introduces himself, and, kind of hires her without her even fully permitting to be his muscle, as he's a few years younger than her, but is advanced in grade. So they go off to a diner and pretty much, ultimately decide that they are going to work together. I like how the art chronicles some of their time together and, some of the cases and stuff that they'd worked on. Very, very, very good. But in the midst of that, they're both growing, and especially Friday, she's getting interested in all of the things that, girls and boys get interested in as they're going into high school and whatnot. She wants to be in a relationship. Believes she has some feelings for Lance. They're not being reciprocated, or she can't quite tell. So she, tests it out on Danny Buttons, and they do the whole dance thing, make out thing. They go to prom and all of that, but something just wasn't clicking, and she really wants to find out what is going on between her and Lance. So they go meet at HQ, where they work out of to solve their cases. Again, Friday being the person that takes action, she kind of asks Lance straight up, like, do you have feelings for me? What is it? He alludes to the fact that he does. She goes in for the kiss, and after, putting their passion to the test, they both kind of come away feeling awkward and a little hollow. She leaves HQ to get a little fresh air, and as she wanders off into the woods, she starts to realize that she's in a part of it that she didn't even know existed, and she's a little lost, and that's when she runs into a shadowy figure with the hood on. It's the lady with the white face, the same one or at least at the time we believe it's possibly the same one that Weasel Wadsworth was mumbling about in his mania in the back seat earlier on in chapter number 1. A whole paranormal scene unfolds. She's trying to run away, and the white lady is transforming, and in the midst of all of it, she believes she sees Lance run out and says some unintelligible things to the white lady, and then she wakes up from a dream and realizes that it could have been a vision, possibly could have been real. She can't tell. She can't shake it, so she decides to then she goes off to it's the day that she needs to leave, so she goes off to college. And still sleeping about it, recounting it, thinking of it all, she wakes up in the middle of the night and decides that she needs to go and get some answers.
Sorry. Again, I got lost. I was like trying to follow along. Eric, we'll start with you again. What are your thoughts?
This chapter, honestly, in the hands of a lesser writer, would have just annoyed me from pillar to post, because it had some of the tropes of every one of these kind of stories. Friday's got two moms, and she's protecting the boy because she's the strong one and whatnot. But he's so good. It's like I said, in lesser hands, there would have been pages of exposition about how the town didn't accept them as a couple, and and then there would have been a couple more pages of her, after she hit the guy with the slap shot, about how how crappy all boys were and how great all girls. But Brubaker didn't get out of only a little bit when she said that called the quarterback this complete asshole. That was so that's a little the white guy in a small town that plays sports is who'd have thunk. But that was the only part where I think it lapsed into a little bit of a trope. The rest of it I thought was fantastic. The kiss was so real, because anybody so many people can relate to that, because if you have a point in your life where your best friend is a girl, it's going to come to that at some point. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to end up the way it did in this book.
Yeah, and this is a really awkward stage too, right? You can probably guess that. Well, Lancelot probably has never kissed a girl.
Yeah.
And she had that funky relationship with that other guy, which she was just doing because she didn't know what to do. And so she's all sorts of confused. But yeah, this is a time of total confusion. And I felt the honesty of that. Like, I was like, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I got my own thoughts.
No. So, and here's where I get confused. Okay, so I'm assuming she dreamt that about the lady there, because she wakes up and then starts putting the pieces together, but then she leaves for 3 months again. Am I getting the timeline right here?
Well, so let me fast forward through. She leaves after they kiss. And then now remember, this is still flashback, because this is the night. Remember, the whole story opens up with she's returning from college, and they talk about the night before she left in the first chapter. Yeah. They talk about that. Well, this is the flashback of what was the night before they left.
Okay.
And now we understand why there's awkwardness between them, because the last time they saw each other was this night. Now, when she leaves, she's walking out of the headquarters, and she finds herself lost in the forest, which she says to herself, "That's weird. I know this whole, every inch of this place." And something seemingly supernatural is going on. We see the witch. Some scenes go on, and Lancelot comes to save her, and he's uttering some words that we can't make out. And then it's that classic scene of like, oh my God, what's going on? And then you wake up, and it was like, oh, it was a dream. But then she makes comments about, but I don't remember how I got here. So was it a dream? We don't know. The audience is sort of left. It's a little ambiguous at this point. And then unfortunately, she doesn't have time to really talk with Lancelot. And they kind of leave in an awkward, setting. And all she can do is think about this witch. And then she remembers which
witch?
That's a good sandwich shop. Have you ever eaten there?
Which witch is which?
But to your comment, I just wanted to say something. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this or not, but since you brought it up, I noticed that too. When she arrives at home, and you see what appears to be two moms, Brubaker's handling of this, I thought, was outstanding. Because number one of them calls herself Aunt.
Yeah.
She's Aunt Jody, not other mom, right? And so now, it's clearly, when you see them, one is, blonde hair, white, skin. The other one seems to be, it's hard to tell in comics, but could either be Hispanic or could be Pacific Islander. I don't know. She's darker skin, dark hair. Like, they're not related. That's my point.
She's a large woman of color.
And I'm thinking, is this really her aunt? Is this maybe, we don't even know if the other woman is her mom. I don't think she did call her mom at one point.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, my point is, Brubaker never establishes what kind of relationship this is. We know there's mom. We know there's Aunt Jody. Is this what you were assuming as a...
Yeah, I'm going to say yes because...
Okay, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say you're wrong. But what I'm saying is, he never confirms this, right? And this is the way a talented professional writer handles it. Because it leaves the audience member to take it away, their own interpretation. This is how you want to let readers interpret certain things for themselves, right? Especially the things that aren't crucial to your story, right? It's not crucial, the relationship between these two women or anything for Friday's story. So you can let readers assume what they want and walk away without having to force anything down anyone's throat. And I don't know. I think that's great. Not enough writers know how to do that.
How many criminal casts have we done where we have conversations about, everybody, like the three of us interpret the same scene three different ways, like the three blind men and the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
It's, my interpretation of that was she probably realized that she was gay later in life. The marriage broke up. She probably took up with this lady well into Friday's life. So she's not a mom. So, kind of like an aunt. So that's kind of, she probably just took to calling her Aunt Joan.
Certainly.
And that's it.
And
nothing more to it than that.
And it could be that. Or it could be that mom, back when she was a child, her mom got divorced, remarried, had a sister that was like a half sister, so looks different, grew up together. They're both maybe divorced now. They kind of live and support together and support each other. There's nothing, it's not at all like any sort of, romantic. It's, it's an actual just two siblings living. It could totally be that too. Like, we don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said, I love that it lets you take away however you want to see it. And then
you could very well be right. Tell me to interrupt. I said you could very well be right, but you get so conditioned by modern comics that even when it's not there, you think it is. So
I'm going to tell you, truthfully, when I was reading it, that's where my brain went to. I went the same place you did. But I started to roll my eyes and be like, but then after the whole thing was done, I was like, wait a second. I reflected on it and was like, I'm projecting onto that scene. I don't actually know. I'm making a lot of assumptions. And then I started to be impressed. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Because if someone is reading this book, let's say, and they like, that's the world they want to live in, where they're like, yay, representation. You got it. and if you're reading the book and you're like, can you quit sexualizing every character? Like, we don't need to. You got it. It's like, I just love that. It just let the story be told. Don't force anything. Let readers put some of themselves in the book. Like I said, I think that helps personalize things for people. Not even just when we're talking about this level of, I guess cultural stuff, but just in general, when people can kind of see it from their own lens. I forget, there's an author that made a statement once that every book was partly the readers because they read it in a unique way. like not everyone reads a book the same way as anyone else. And so what you take away is your unique experience. And that's not something that should be bad. Like a lot of writers want to fight that, so they put lots of exposition and explanations to make sure that the reader interprets it exactly the way that they want them to. But then you rob the reader of a bit of an experience. Anyways, I'm really going in the weeds here. Skip, do you have any comments on that particular subject?
I guess the only relevant thing I would say about it is the book does not occur in modern times. It takes place, a little further back. You can tell,
Good point.
especially by the car making models and such like that. And
No
although
cell phones.
no cell phones,
There's
people
your
calling,
clue.
people calling on payphones, like how Friday made that call from college, and it was on
Oh yeah,
it was
good
on
point.
the corded phone. So Brubaker is also capturing some of the social cues and social norms from that time, and maybe how some of those relationships kind of played out back then. So that's also I guess that would be relevant to the relationship of the mother and the so-called aunt. That was the only thing I'd have to add about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I say that I was more interested in the characters than the story. So maybe I put a little bit more thought into it than I probably needed to. And obviously, it's a good thing the story did take place in the past because you think about it, and here's where I'm going to go in the weeds for a second. One of the great plot devices of older movies is getting to a phone, finding a phone. Someone cut the phone lines, and when she has to go to the headquarters, she's rushing it. If this story takes place now, you just call them
Yeah.
on your cell.
Right.
And the only drama could be if there was no cell service in the woods type of thing. So
Right.
I said that adds to this story.
Yeah, and I think also one of the things I'm glad that Skip pointed this out because it's something I knew, but it wasn't in the forefront of my mind. So I wasn't making those connections. But now that I'm thinking about it, it makes so much sense. And I love that Brubaker typically writes his indie works in a period setting because it makes the stories feel timeless. Right? When you write something current and topical, it has the potential of aging really badly because we don't necessarily know where the moment is going. But this kind of gives me the feel that it's set possibly in the 70s, if I had to guess. We know what that era is, you know what I'm saying? You can establish something and that feels like locked in, and so it's not going to age, right? The 70s will always just feel like the 70s. Whereas some of the stuff now, I don't know. Anyways, I don't really know where I'm going with that. But
I think you're close. I'd say somewhere in the 75 to 85-ish window. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Between 75 to like 83.
okay, I was thinking 1978, so I would fit right in.
I was thinking April 7th, 1974 to March 23rd, 19... shut up now.
Yeah, and to your point, Eric, I know you're conditioned to see things a certain way, but I didn't have a problem like, oh god, here's another white guy being the villain, because this is in a East Coast town, presumably in the 70s. All the people are pretty much white, so
True.
Having a white bad guy is it's not like, oh, they singled out the white guy.
Well, then I'll say the quarterback of the football team is actually the town asshole. He probably rapes the girls too.
Well.
So again, like I said, that's but then I made sure to point out that's in the hands of lesser writers. I was kind of using that to illustrate a point that none of this bothered me because he's so good.
Yeah. And I loved these spreads, I gotta say, with these books. The I don't know if they're real books, like with basically Friday and Lancelot. Just, you know what I'm saying? These they're obviously got to be fake books, because. But these are books like I want to read. Like they look at them and go, "Oh, these would be great."
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys.
Yeah.
Live and Let Die is playing at the movie theater.
Oh, in the
town. So there you go.
Okay.
1974.
There it
I
is.
was close. So
Well,
close.
I said March 74, so I win.
You win. I mean, you're the only one that actually remembers 1974. So.
Well, I hadn't started drinking to wretched excess yet.
I mean, I was 1 year old, so. I love the detail inside this little hideout. I have to say, one of my favorite books of all time, my absolute favorite book from my childhood, and one of my favorite books of all time, is a book called Wrinkle in Time. I don't know if either of you two have read this book, but it's a phenomenal book. It also takes place in an East Coast town, and it's about these kids, and it kind of goes otherworldly, so that part's different. But the characters, and I think that was helped me form or establish kind of a bond to this book, because in that book, two of the characters are actually brother and sister, so it's not exactly the same. But Meg and Charles Wallace. These two characters reminded me very much, other than, like I said, the romantic aspects. But Charles Wallace is Meg's younger brother, and he's like the super duper genius of geniuses. And Meg is the main character protagonist, and they have adventures and things. And so, to me, this was like, oh, I kind of want to see Wrinkle in Time adapted into a graphic novel, and I want to see this artist do it. But I really go ahead.
I was going to say one other thing real quick. If I'd been paying more attention, when this story takes place was a dead giveaway the page before the movie theater. If you look at Danny's tux, and she's wearing a bell-bottom pantsuit to the prom. Again, is the only person old enough to remember that. Because I saw some prom pictures. Like my brother graduated in 1977. His older yearbooks, you could, that's a giveaway.
I was thinking between that and her hairstyle, and even the style of the overalls, I was kind of putting those things together. They did a good job of using colors that were kind of like in color palettes that were more popular around that time, especially when she was at the prom too. So they did there was a lot of really good cues, to let us know the approximate time period this was happening without being like so on the nose or overt about.
And I'm the only guy, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one of the three of us old enough to have actually parted their hair in the middle.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Fortunately for you guys, that did not make it out of the 70s.
Yeah, let's celebrate that fact.
Lucky you.
I wanted to part my hair in the middle, but I always had a big cowlick, so I couldn't.
Thank you, cowlicks.
Comic Book Frog in the audience is saying Wrinkle in Time had Oprah in it. I just want to clarify, I'm not talking about that dog shit movie that no one should ever watch. That movie's fucking horrible. It destroyed my childhood. No, if you ever read the book, or if you don't have a desire to read the book, if you have children to read a book too, like, it's a fantastic book. Anyways, moving on to actually Ed Brubaker. I want to piggyback off what you said, Eric. The characters in this book, I was the same way. I found myself more and more connecting to these characters and caring about them. And I just remember thinking, as I was reading this second book in particular, about one of the things I love so much about Brubaker is how he humanizes everything. Even in his criminal books, when we're reading about pretty bad people that we're just like, oh man, you need to go away. you still feel their humanity, right? Even though they're corrupted and lost and they're doing bad things, they feel like real people. And same thing with this book. This book took me back to parts of my childhood and that awkwardness. I think everyone remembers their first kiss. And he just understands how to make characters feel real. And this girl Friday, she's obviously a competent character, but she's not even the most competent in her own story, right? They go out of their way to make, like, Lancelot is this, like, super genius who's, like, skipped 3 grades. And they talk about how he's 2 grades ahead of her, even though he's a year younger. It's like, oh. And so, you know, Lancelot is this super genius kid. He solves all these things. He works with the police and all this, but he's just a side character. And that's what makes me attached to this story. She's awkward. She's trying to find her place in the world. This is like a really strong kind of coming of age story with a girl as the central protagonist. And as a guy and as like a middle-aged guy, this normally isn't my cup of tea. This isn't something I seek out and go, oh yeah, that's what I want to read. No, but it's because Brubaker's so good that he writes such a compelling story that I care. I love that she looks like an awkward girl. She's not like prom queen, you know, like, oh, look at me, I'm the best, you know. It just all works for me. Anyways, I don't want to go too far into into the weeds on this. Does anyone have anything final to say before we get on the final chapter?
No, I'm good.
Cool. There's an extensive letters page on the second issue for those who are interested. And we'll get into book 3 as soon as my computer loads. There we
go. Oh,
this is
wrong screen.
This is probably my least favorite of the covers, but I still find it evocative, especially kind of knowing, you know, where the stories go. Either of you guys have any comments on the cover before we go?
I like that one. It does. I will say I think they continue to do a good job of linking the covers to the story.
Yeah.
Because the blizzard takes a huge uptick.
Right.
It's almost as if we are, you know, like stuck in a car looking at Friday, you know, midst of everything, you know, in the midst of the peak of the intrigue, you know, and her trying to, I won't say what she's trying to do specifically, but her trying to deal with, you know, the matters at hand. So I like the perspective that they took for that particular cover.
Yeah, I love again, not just the color contrast, but the actual subject contrast of like being ablaze in the middle of a blizzard. It kind of stands out to me. I don't know. I'm just a sucker for that. And again, ever since you pointed that out about Layla Starr, it's been a thing that's been on my mind. So here we go. We got the first Christmassy thing. Little Christmas tree, black and white. And go ahead and take it away, Skip.
All righty. And chapter 3 is called Shadows in the Storm. So we again pick up where Friday left off. She's back in town, you know, walking about the town, having a smoke, especially at her age, probably something that kind of signifies the 70s.
Right. Well, she's 18.
Yeah. I mean, she's 18, but it's just, you know, she's not vaping.
Oh, right. Good point.
But you know, she's noticing, you know, the storm is not letting up, how it feels like it's only taken an uptick. Also using an analogy from a nearby port, how, you know, there was a sea that had, you know, basically personified someone who had, a woman who had lost something and took her wrath out on all incoming ships. And, you know, how there was one particular sacrifice that did calm the storm, but in this case, that sacrifice has not been made yet. As she continues to go through the city, she runs into Father Poole, who is a nearby, you know, homeless person, but is known to hang around the church quite a bit. And he shows some genuine concern for her as he's out there looking for his dog. French Fry, the dog, does show up. And after they exchange a little bit of niceties, he lets her know, like, hey, get out of the storm. I don't want to, wake up tomorrow morning and find you frozen out here. And, she assures him that she'll be out of it shortly. And just that casual interaction, and that concern, reaffirms for her that her hometown is something that she misses, and she has a very special relationship with it. So as she continues to press toward Lance's house, which they live in a lighthouse, she approaches it. She's thinking about, the last interaction that they had, the last intimate interaction that they had. She's thinking about the future going forward. So many things are just going around in her head about just their personal relationship. And she tries to get his attention. He doesn't answer the rocks at the window. So she eventually climbs through the window. And of course, Lance, being that, know-it-all, he left her a note, saying, hey, meet me at HQ if you get this note. So she heads towards HQ. She jumps on a sled because it's downhill. Of course, going through the ABCs of their relationship, how he knows things, how he's not comfortable with sharing certain things, how they both kind of know it, and maybe that's just where the relationship will be. And right as she gets clear of the hill with the sled, comes to the end of the trip, she looks up and there's a huge beam of light emanating from where their headquarters would be. And as she rushes towards it, she starts to see that it's smoke and there's a fire. And between the heat of the fire and the cold of the storm, it's giving off this cast and this mist mixed with the smoke. And she rushes inside of HQ to find Lance on the ground, and it looks like he's been badly beaten, maybe a little burned already by some of the fire. He pretty much looks like he's deceased. She sees that there are signs of forced entry, and she even sees some people kind of making an escape. So she darts out the door to try to, again, take action, and she catches a bad one, a big branch right to the back of the head, knocks her glasses off, and she goes out cold. When she finally comes to, she sees tracks, but the perpetrators are far off in the distance. She doesn't even see them. She goes back in to try to just get Lance out of there in hopes of anything, anything positive to come out of the situation. But as she drags his body out and looks, he's gone. And she's just left there with his dead body, their HQ burned, and more questions than answers at this point. That's the end of chapter 3.
All I gotta say is, damn it, Brubaker. Damn it. We always talk about when we were reading like his criminal books and stuff, how, everyone kind of gets what they deserve. And, the criminal books kind of romanticize being a criminal, but at the same time, by the end, it's the live by the sword, die by the sword. It's not like, oh, the criminals got away happily ever after in the sunset. Yay. It's not like that. And so you feel that you can tell these tragic stories because in some ways it's like they made their bed, now they got to lie in it. And I was reading this and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm reading this book and I'm like, this is not a criminal book. Are we going to have, like, the first time ever, we can have a happy ending from Brubaker? And nope, of course not. This really hit me in the stomach. Eric, what did you think?
Well, from someone who has wasted a lot of time watching daytime serials, I'll believe it when the coroner pronounces him dead.
Good point.
Until that point, there's always that slight possibility. But on the one hand, evidence that he's dead. The book isn't called Friday and Lancelot. So
yeah,
that doesn't bode well for Lancelot.
And Ed Brubaker has proven time and time again he's not afraid to kill characters you like.
No, and
you're like, oh yeah, this character always gonna get a happy ending. He's gonna love it. Oh, she's dead.
Well, it doesn't even not even so much that. It's just, you have a main character. Usually, main characters last longer into the story than that if you're not Janet Leigh in Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I said chances are, there will be the only time we'll see Lance in Volume 2 is in flashbacks. But I'm holding out hope. You never know, because
it's true. The coroner, there's no coroners pronounced him dead.
Yeah, well, it's good. That might be because they're not there yet. But
to your point is what I'm saying is we're assuming he's dead. He could just be unconscious, and people.
Right.
There's a reason we have coroners to pronounce people dead, because normal people aren't good at it.
and she didn't say, she didn't say he's dead. He's dead, Jim. So there's always that possibility, because there's more to his story and their story.
Uh-huh.
So there's part of me that's kind of hoping that he's not, but we're going to have to wait and find out. And now all of a sudden, I said, again, the first time I read it, I was like, okay. But now after the second time, I was like, yeah, I want to know what happened to him. I want to know if, because there's also the possibility that there's not any supernatural element to this, and that it's all, plausibly explained. We'll find that out in the next volume. So I really do want to see what happens in this story now.
Yeah. A reason I think that he's dead is the narrator makes in Brubaker's voice, when she sees the pillar of light and she stops, she's like, what? And then the narrator goes on and says, oh, because before that it says, because she didn't want it to be true. When she's like, what? But it didn't matter. She's like, no, because she'd never find out anyway. And that seems kind of final. She'd never find, it's like, because he's dead. And people who are unconscious don't lie with their eyes open and their, eyes all bulged out and weird, like in this picture. So while I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, it does not look optimistic.
It says Lancelot. Too late to catch them, too late to save Lance, too late for almost everything. So yeah, it does not look good.
Now this is seemingly a supernatural story, so nothing's really ruled out at this point. Hell, this could have all been a dream. I don't think it is, but we've seen that she's had supposed dream sequences in the past. Skip, what's your take on this third chapter?
I agree. I was going by I would like Lance to stick around. There's something that he brings to the story. And of course, he can be replaced with a different, interesting character next time around. So he could make space for someone else. I would like him to be around. I was going off of the line that Brubaker said when she was having all that internal dialogue about, kind of the mechanics of the relationship. And then, it said, she wouldn't get a chance to explore those things, and that finality is kind of what let me know, or what keyed me into Lance likely being dead before we even saw his body and whatnot. Again, we'll really have to see when we get to the fourth chapter. There have been fake outs before, but Brubaker is usually pretty consistent when he when he introduces things like that.
You mean there have been fade outs before?
Oh yes, they are, and I can't wait till the next one comes out. We just got to get past these Reckless books. But aside from that, I really appreciated how this was going. It did have the Brubaker tone of, something good and kind of satisfying, and or at least positive for the character happening in the midst of literally a storm, and then going from there to kind of going down in gear a little bit and as far as dynamics are concerned, her just trying to go and speak to Lance. We're thinking, as readers that maybe we'll get some clues about the white lady and what the hell Lance was saying to her when, Friday was either viewing that for real or having some sort of vision in her mind. We're thinking we're going to get clues to that. And then right when we think we're anticipating, the next, jab straight, here comes Brubaker with a uppercut, kidney hook combo and just knocks us to the ground. The freaking HQ's on fire and Lance is, likely mortally injured. And I just really enjoyed the dynamics of it. And I like the fact that, the setting of the story, and it's supposed to be a YA, post-YA, there are some serious stakes. And, by the time we've gotten to that place in our life, likely, unfortunate tragedies have happened and whatever degrees of separation we've kind of had to learn how to, continue to live life with that being the case. For Friday, it's very real. It's up close and personal. And it's seeming like, her focus on college is about to get massively interrupted as she, is going to feel compelled to stay home now and really, really solve this and have to potentially solve a case herself this time, or with her as the lead instead of Lance, who usually takes the lead and where she's the muscle and the backup. So this is a even, different dynamic for Friday and puts her in a, at her depth, which is supposed to lead to an even more compelling story over.
Yeah, you're right. He's toast.
Yeah,
but I don't think they'll bring in a replacement Lance. I think this will be just about her, Veronica Marsing her way through this and figuring out what caused it, who killed her best friend, blah blah blah. Yeah, I think you're right. Sorry, Lance.
It's a tough
sequel for you.
It's a tough pill to swallow because not only did I like the Lance character, but he is an important part of her. Right? Like this whole story has been about her experience with him and him being her best friend, and then she falls in love with him. And then, he admitted he loved her. They just had this weird where teenagers don't know how to really deal, and then everything's kind of messed up. But so there's two characters that loved each other. She's the main character. It sucks. I don't know. I just feel like when you like characters and you get bonded to them because of such great writing like this, to take one of them away that is so seemingly integral, if not to the plot, but maybe to the characters, itself, like it's tough. It's a tough one. And Brubaker he's done this multiple times. This was probably the most, I don't know if it was the hardest hitting, but it was the most unexpected because Lance truly is innocent, right? By all respects that we can tell, he's just a good kid with a brain. He had so much potential, and it's just like Brubaker's like, nope, he's got to die.
If this is a supernatural story, maybe the ghost of Lance will come back to help her.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe she'll imagine him.
Maybe Lance was never human at all, which is why he could talk to the Wicked Witch of the Forest.
Yeah, I definitely got some like Fattel vibes. That's probably, of all the Brubaker books that I've read, and I haven't read all of them, but all the ones that I have read, that's this between the paranormal stuff, between like the detective and the muscle and like I said, the paranormal activity and everything. It probably closest mirrors Fattel to me. Or at least gives off, some of those types of vibes without being like anywhere close to a complete copy of it all. But just kind of some of the general themes and stuff that are in there. That's a little bit of what I was getting.
Maybe the spirit of Lance will take over French Fry.
Oh wow, that'd be a whole nother.
So weird.
Now I want to go to Red Robin.
That really
French
would be.
fries?
Now it really would become like a Scooby-Doo story. Dog, Friday.
Friday.
So stupid. So here's the cover of issue 4, which is out for anyone that wants to continue reading the story. Again, you can find that on panelsyndicate.com. If you ever forget, just drop me a line. I'll be happy to.
Do we know when it's coming out in print?
Well, here's the thing. Well, no, we don't. Probably when it gets 3 more issues, because the first one was 3 chapters. So it does not look like they're doing floppies, although they did release a floppy for issue 1 just a couple weeks back. Skip and I got a copy. And Eric, you could have got a copy too. You have no excuse. You work in a comic place, so.
Yeah, but I some weeks I don't even see the new wall.
Well, Ed Brubaker had a new book and you didn't get it, so.
But I got the book. I got the book.
I'm just playing with you.
I mean, and I hate indies, so.
It's true. Apparently you do, because you didn't buy it, did you?
But I like indie collections.
Anyways, I presume that they'll, because it does say book 1 on the cover of that, so that usually indicates there will be a book 2. Ed Brubaker did say at the end of the last issue, I don't know if it's in the physical trade, but he said that originally that end scene was supposed to be the end of issue 1, but it just got stretched out. And so these first 3 stories make up act 1 of the entire thing. So we can probably presume from that information that there will probably be about 9-ish issues, because if this is act 1, there's 2 more acts. But anyways, you can see, if you want to continue reading, I'm going to read this. I've only read the first 3 books so far, but definitely after this stream, I'm going to jump in, because I'm in love with this story, and I think this is going to be an annual Christmas read for me. Which will just get better and better, because who knows how much will be finished by the Christmas next year.
It'll get better and better, and Lance will get deader and deader.
Oh.
There's your Christmas cheer. Bah humbug.
No kidding. Why do we invite this guy again?
My sunny disposition.
That alone. What else do you need?
It's always sunny in Breenville.
He's Eric Breen. There's not a comic book related stream he can't just walk right into and
bring everybody down.
Hey, I didn't say it.
Well, I can't speak highly enough for this book. I think I went in with lower expectations, even though it was Brubaker. I was expecting it to be good. I mean, but this was really good to me. The only downside I have is that it sort of just, it's not really the end of a story itself. It's just, like I said, it's the end of the first act. So we don't get any closure. We get a big cliffhanger instead. But I loved everything. I really loved the art in this book. I can't explain it. I didn't think I would from what little I had seen, but it really grew on me. Going through it again with you guys and seeing the layouts of this book are impeccable. This Marcos Martin guy, he's fantastic. And Munsa Vincente is doing the colors. Outstanding. This is absolutely. I don't have the physical soft cover yet. It's hard to find. But now I'm kind of thinking maybe there'll be a fully collected. Like I'm kind of like, I would love to just get a hardcover of this thing fully done. I hope that's the case, but these are beautiful.
If there's publishers that want to make money, they could do a lot worse than printing Ed Brubaker scripted books.
Right?
So I'm pretty sure that'll be the case. I liked the soft cover too, because it's condensed. So the issue 1 floppy that came out for comic shops is the traditional comic book size, and the soft cover is actually a little smaller than that. So I dug how it was. I dug the size of it and how it was smaller. I've been kind of enjoying reading like smaller sized graphic novels. I got another one by Brandon Graham from Rain Like Hammers on the same day that I bought Friday, and it's even like a little smaller in dimension from that. I'm really looking forward in reading it.
Yeah, if you're still saying that when you're pushing 60.
Right?
Yeah, we'll see. That's what glasses are for, right?
Or
The
you won't
magnifying
see.
glasses. Or I won't see. Yes, indeed. Quick side note though, I know we probably didn't touch on this because as you don't have the soft cover, and I'm not sure if the digital versions had the kind of little blurbs in the back from Brubaker and the sketches from Marcos Martin, but there's like a blurb page where Brubaker is talking about how this book had been in the works for a really, really long time. He said since he was about 25 or so, and when he was, barely getting by being a cartoonist, he said when he was depressed, he would go to the public library and he would like read through like a lot of popular YA novels that were out at that time when he was 25, which is a little while ago. And what's interesting is that today I received in the mail, though I have not opened it yet, one of the few comics that I've seen by Ed Brubaker that he drew and wrote called Detour. And he very much has like a cartoonist, type style and aesthetic. So I just thought it was appropriate to share that I received Detour written and drawn by Ed Brubaker right after reading that page today.
Oh,
So,
wow.
fun little coincidence.
Yeah, that is. I did read that at the end. I think that was the end of issue 2. They talked about that, and I went to the library and got. And he kind of alludes to like how his career could have almost went that way. It'd have been like a young adult mystery writer writing, type of stuff. And I'm glad that he didn't. But this book was in no way a YA book. This is definitely, teenagers and up probably, but I think you're going to appreciate it more as an adult who at one time was a kid. Like you would go back and go, yeah, those were those years. And I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this. I could go on. I hope everyone that's listening, you guys read it. Leave comments. I love to hear what people thought. Even if you didn't like it, that's fine. I know this book's not going to be for everyone, but I still encourage, if you think that it's not, doesn't look like for you, give it a try. Brubaker is such a strong writer. And I think now, knowing what the book is, you can go in with expectations, proper. No one likes to read something when you think it's one thing and it turns out to be another. That can be pretty jarring. It's a good, fun mystery with some mystic things going on. A little bit of Christmas on the side. I thought it was good for the season. Today is the 4th day of Christmas, by the way, so happy 4th day of Christmas, everyone. And apparently the Kings just blew their lead, says Eric Breen. So sorry about that, Skip. Christmas does have to end, I guess.
Just me being classy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I still do this show.
I don't know why you still root for the Kings, but yeah, it's
Loyal to a fault. Any ladies out there looking for a loyal man? I'm a Kings fan. How much more loyal does it get?
There we go.
Okay.
And he's a good-looking man too, if I don't say so myself.
Why? Thank you, Ash. I would say the same for you. You know what? I'll say the Ash character that your name comes from is a very good-looking man. How about that?
I was. You're definitely a better-looking man than I am.
I'm just going to assume that Ash is quite dashing.
Yes, let's assume that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have very nice cuticles whenever you do your unboxing videos. I do have to.
That's the best
do
part
have
of
to
me.
compliment you there.
I could be a hand model.
Yeah, that's who you remind me of. You remind me of the hand model from Zoolander. The dude that like had his hand like encased in that like glass thing, and you're like, I know who that is. You're the hand model.
Oh boy.
Yeah. If In-N-Out's looking for, the right pair of hands to hold those $4 burgers, it could do worse.
Yeah. Yes, they could. That sounds good. I need to have some In-N-Out. I haven't had In-N-Out in a little while. Need to go back. So this has been a pretty good Christmas for me. I didn't get anything like amazing, but I've come to learn that the monetary aspects of Christmas are not what's important. I did have a blessed Christmas this year, so I just want to express my thanks on that. I've had a very thankful one. And I'm getting to finally do something for New Year's. I haven't done it because you get old, like New Year's becomes like not a thing. So,
Right.
not that I'm doing anything special. I'm just hanging out with some people at my new church that I've been going to, and we're doing a board game night, which sounds super nerdy, but I'm assuming anyone that's listening in on this whole thing is super nerd anyway. Something people may not know. In the 25 years I was out of comics for a while, one of the things I got into, I've always been a game person. I love games, but I got really into hobby board gaming, and that's where I was spending all my money on. I used to run a game night every week when I was living in Colorado. That was a ton of fun, and I've missed it since being back in California. I haven't played board games at all. And I had this huge collection just sitting in storage, and so I'm super excited to be like, oh, this hobby that I've missed. So, anyways, I just wanted to say that's what I'm doing. I'm thankful. You guys have any plans for New Year's?
No, but I do want to say that for myself, for Graphic Man, for Skip, that we all share in the misery that is the Royals/Kings, and maybe someday someone in our chat will be from Rochester and can just call us all losers.
Wait, don't the Royals have a championship?
When they were in Rochester.
Oh,
Same as the Kings.
but they went from Cincinnati to Kansas City. That's Graphic Man's neck of the woods. Now Skip's stuck with him. So he's stuck with him, and he's stuck with him. So
Yeah.
Give him credit for that.
Yeah. $20,000 down the hole, and these sons of guns haven't even been to the playoffs since my daughter has been born, and she's 14. But hey, college tuitions, am I right?
That's your version of when I tell people that I said this coming March I will have been sober for 30 years. But the last time the Bengals won a playoff game or the Reds won a World Series, I was too drunk to know. So that's what you can aspire to. 16 more years of hell.
The Graphic Man says we used to have the Kings, Chiefs, and the Royals. Well, I'm envious because I used to have the Chargers, Padres, and the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
We're the city of losers.
I like the Clippers colors better when they were in San Diego. Well, that was a better colorway.
I liked them better when they were in Buffalo.
I didn't even know about that.
They were the Buffalo Braves.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, before they moved to San Diego.
Oh.
Little NBA history for you. Yeah, Rochester, Buffalo, Schenectady.
I think at least every other city has at least like one team that they can look to. Not San Diego. Every team. You just come here to suck.
Well, but they come there to suck, but you can soak in the sunshine. You'll always have that. So you'd rather soak than suck.
If they let us leave the house, then that might be the case.
You got a point.
Hopefully everyone is doing well. Stay safe for the holidays. Thank you for listening in and joining us, sharing your love of comics. Hopefully, we can, our shared back has inspired you to read something good. Even Comic Frog maybe one day might read a good Ed Brubaker book. You never know.
I know.
I think we'll just close this show up. Did anyone of you guys have final thoughts before we put a bow on this?
Thanks to everybody for showing up. The chat was awesome tonight, very lively. So thank you, Maranya, Graphic Man, Indie Comic Jones, HR Goes Vocal, Nothing, John Snowden, Comic Frog, everybody in there. We appreciate y'all
and
being
Miss
so active.
And can't slight Miss So.
And Miss So. Have a good
Miss
night,
So.
Miss So. Appreciate y'all.
We will see you next year. I love saying that.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.